How can I improve my self-esteem? How can I assert myself more? When I'm direct, I'm constantly worried about how it's perceived and not offending someone. How can I learn to set boundaries with friends? Give examples, please.
If these questions sound familiar, if they echo something deep inside you, I want you to know you are so not alone in this. These are the kinds of struggles that get to the very heart of being human. And honestly, just being able to ask them, that takes real courage. So let's walk through this together, step by step.
All right, so where do we even begin? Well, it all starts with self-esteem. Think of it like the foundation of a house. Everything else we're going to talk about, being assertive, setting boundaries, it all gets built right on top of this. And here's the most important part. True, lasting self-esteem is an inside job. It's not something you can get from other people's approval. It has to come from you.
So how do we actually do that? How do we build that inner foundation? Well, it really comes down to 3 practical things you can start doing. First, you've got to start consciously noticing your wins, no matter how small they seem. This builds up a kind of library of evidence that you're capable. Second, we'll talk about affirmations, but the kind that actually feel believable to your brain. And third, it's about gently taking on small challenges. This is how you prove to yourself that you can handle things.
Okay, let's talk about those affirmations for a second. A lot of us think of cheesy phrases like, I am perfect, and our minds just reject that, right? But look at this one. I have the right to an opinion and my feelings are important. See the difference? This isn't about being right all the time. It's about giving yourself permission to simply exist and take up space. It's an incredibly powerful and grounding thought to hold on to.
So once we start shoring up that inner foundation, we can move on to the next piece of the puzzle, finding your assertive voice. And I want to be really clear here. So many people confuse assertiveness with aggression. They are not the same thing at all. Being assertive isn't about being pushy or winning an argument. It's simply the skill of expressing what you need, think, and feel in a clear and respectful way.
This right here is one of the most powerful communication tools you can learn, the difference between a you statement and an I statement. Think about it. When someone says, you always ignore me, what happens? The other person's defenses go right up. It feels like an attack. But what if you say, when you don't reply, I feel ignored? You're not accusing, you're just describing your experience. One starts a fight, the other starts a real conversation.
And here's a technique that's so simple it's almost hard to believe how well it works. The power of the pause. Before you react, especially when you feel that flash of frustration or hurt, just wait. Take 1-2 seconds. That tiny little gap is where your power is. It's just enough time for your thinking brain to catch up so you can choose how you want to respond instead of just reacting.
Now, this is a big one, and it can be really hard to internalize, but it's vital. You are not responsible for another person's emotional reaction. Let me say that again. Their reaction is not your fault. Your responsibility is to communicate your truth clearly and with respect. That's it. How they choose to feel about it, that's theirs to manage. Letting go of that burden is the key to getting over the guilt of being direct.
And all of this leads us right to our third and final section, the art of healthy boundaries. I want you to try and reframe what boundaries are. They are not giant walls you build to push people away or punish them. Think of them more like a fence around your own yard. The fence is there to protect your space, your energy, and your peace. It's a profound act of self-preservation.
So, to put it simply, boundaries are just your personal rules of engagement. They're you proactively telling the world what's okay with you and what's not. The focus is never on controlling someone else's behavior, but on protecting your own well-being.
Here is a beautiful, simple script you can borrow. What I love about this is what it doesn't do. It doesn't over-explain, it doesn't apologize over and over, and it doesn't open the door for negotiation. It's just a clear, polite, and complete statement. You can use a version of this in so many situations where you just need to say no to something that isn't right for you. Here's another fantastic example, and it works so well because of how it starts. It leads with validation. I understand what you're saying. That shows the other person you've heard them. Then you clearly state your need and the simple reason for it. It's a collaborative approach, not a confrontational one. You're respecting them while also, crucially, respecting yourself. All right, let's tackle a really tough one, like when a friend asks for money. This can feel so incredibly awkward, but there's a really graceful way to handle this. First, you state your limit clearly and kindly. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to help out financially. Then, if you want to and you're able, you can offer a different kind of support. Something like, but I'm happy to help you brainstorm some resources. This shows you care about them and the friendship, even when you have to honor your own limits. So,
As we start to bring this all together, I want you to shift your thinking. This isn't about fixing something that's wrong with you. This is about cultivating a practice. Building self-esteem, finding your voice, setting boundaries, it's a journey made up of small, consistent actions you take over time.
And this is what that practice actually looks like. Every time you acknowledge something you did well, or you use an I statement, or you hold even a tiny boundary, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. You are literally practicing self-respect. It's not about being perfect, it's just about being persistent.
Look, this isn't about changing your entire life overnight. That's just too much pressure. It's about starting small. So, my final question to you is this. Reflecting on everything we've just talked about, what is one small, manageable step you can take today? Maybe it's just writing down one thing you're proud of. Or maybe it's just practicing that 2-second pause. What will your first step be?